Hey, everybody, this is Patti. Welcome to the witching hour. Yes, the hour of the day when the veil is thin and magic happens. We have some fabulous magic for you today. You might recognize him from the TV show Ghost Loop, all you paranormal peeps, but he is an actor. He is a paranormal investigator. He's a documentary. He's a filmmaker. He's a little bit gifted himself. Welcome, Matt Lytle. Thank you, Matt.
Hello, I am so excited to be here right now and to talk to you and just to talk about the unexplained. It's my favorite thing to do.
Yes. So let's even go there. So again, I know you have a theater background and everything. So do I, going back to there, which is great. And I think it just helps us into not even just if we're on camera, it helps us in our world of dealing with spirits and stuff, just our connection to the right brain side of everything. But how did you get into the paranormal world?
Yeah, I totally agree with what you just said, by the way. I'm sure we'll get into that more. So I got into the paranormal. I was a freshman in high school, and this was January of 2009. And my grandmother had passed away from Alzheimer's. She was only about 76. And so a couple of months later, my family and I take a trip down to Daytona Beach, Florida. I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. So we drove about 17 hours down there. And a couple of days after we got there, it was my best friend at the time and I sharing a hotel room with my grandfather. And it's my mom's dad. So it was my mom's mom who passed. And there was one night, and I'm going to say this too before I get into the story. I didn't necessarily believe in the spiritual world. I had some weird things happen, but there are people out there that like to just dismiss it because they're scared of it. That
Right.
was me at 15 years old. And so there was one night where my best friend and I go upstairs to our hotel room. My granddad is asleep already. He had been asleep. And he was on his stomach facing the other way, and there was a light on right behind him. And I sat down, Patti, I sat down on the bed. And I know you've had this happen before too. And I felt like there was a fourth person in the room with us. And as I felt this weird sensation come over me, I look over to my right side and there I see the spirit of my grandmother rubbing my granddad's back. And she looked over her right shoulder and kind of grinned at me. And it wasn't scary. It was just very shocking because I just said I was scared of this stuff. I didn't want to believe it. And being 15 years old as well, having such a overuse of the word profound experience, it blew my mind. And I told my friend at the time, my eyes watered, and I was afraid to tell anyone. I told my mom pretty much everything, and it took me all the way driving back from Florida, about an hour away from home in Indiana, that I told her that I had had that experience. And she was very open to it and very like proud and happy that grandma showed herself and smiled at me. And grandma, when I did see her as well, she wasn't, older, died with Alzheimer's, unhealthy looking. She was beautiful, probably 30s. Her hair was lush, just very tall. And I just from then on, it was like, okay, this is what I meant to do. I meant to find out what that was, why that was, and it took off from there.
I love that. And yeah, what a profound experience for that, especially for a boy of that age, which is there's so much going on at that age of what.
Oh
And
yeah.
I love that she showed herself younger. I've been talking to the dead since I could talk, but it is so interesting. Somebody who enjoyed maturing and getting into old age and becoming grandma and grandpa, they will show themselves old. Some spirits, and this will probably be me down the line going, oh no, 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 no. I'm going to show myself in 1970, whatever, 1920, whatever. There's the beehive and the this. And I love it. They have that opportunity. They don't have this meat suit. So I love that she did that because the illness goes away. All of it goes away. And ghosts are good. I mean, we on TV, and I know you and I both do paranormal TV, they do the sensationalism because you always have to go to the scary place most of the time. You guys had an interesting concept with Ghost Loop, which we could talk about, but you go to, they don't want to go to the happy place where the ghosts are hanging out because they got married there. You go to the prison and the insane asylum and the killer's house. But as a rule, other than that, spirits are great on the other side. So to have experiences like that, to open up into it is amazing.
Very much. Very much too, and of course, I'm going to ask you a few questions because I mean, I've obviously like seen you for years, and I respect your work so much. You know, why did she show me? Why she didn't? I have so many cousins on my mom's side. She's got two brothers who had a lot of kids, but why me? Why then? Why that way? I always ask myself that. I truly believe. I'll tell you my theory first. I believe she knew that my path was going to be what it is, that it was going to be film, television, that it was going to be paranormal investigating, podcast, all of that. I think she knew that this is what was going to not only make my career, but make all of my life choices. Like I moved out to Los Angeles right before we got greenlit for Ghost Loop because I wanted to be in that city and have those connections and be more involved. And so I believe that that's why I was the one. But what do you think?
Yes, that 100%. And yeah, because she knew, because there's no time and space. She saw the trajectory of what you could choose to do with your life and knew that that would be a good choice for you. And she also saw that you were gifted. You're
Mm,
very intuitive, whether you developed it or not. That's what I even teach in my school. You got to get out of that left brain logic. You got to just trust, again, which we learn in acting school.
right.
But I think she knew that you had the gift. I could tell that you're very sensorial, how we're affected by vision, sight, smell, taste, all those five senses, which reflects onto the sixth sense. So she saw that you could
Wow.
see. So both of those, and the fact that you were a 15-year-old boy, you know how much life force we have at that age. Like if you've done investigations or when I do seances, that's when poltergeist stuff always happens at that post puberty, but not to into adulthood. You have so much life force that she could
Wow.
use your life force to show herself to you. So I think it was a perfect storm. She knew your path and this would help it. You were a 15-year-old boy and all that that goes with it. And she saw that you had the gift.
Wow. And one more thing too, I actually just found this out. I'm now 30, and I just found this out a couple years ago from my mom. Granddad cried himself to sleep that night. And so her
You
rubbing his back, it made total
please.
sense. And
Yeah.
I like looked at my mom, I'm like, how have I told this story for 10 plus years and you're just now telling me? That is such a big part of the story, and it makes a lot more sense why she was there rubbing his back, and he had just gone to sleep. I'm assuming probably maybe less than an hour before we got up there because it was about 11 p.m. But wow, what you said is beautiful. And at the time, as a 15-year-old boy, not necessarily being open to even believing the spiritual world, the fact that she sensed that is I think a legitimate, thing that the afterlife can see. But and then, like you said, that age, 16 is when I first started investigating, 17, 18. I mean, whew, that was probably I've probably would say half of the best evidence I've ever captured on recordings or spirit boxes or even just seeing with my own eyes was when I was a teenager. So it's neat that you say that.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect storm, a perfect combination to put you into this place for you to create from there with your choice.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, and it's not a coincidence.
no, not a coincidence whatsoever. Is there any
Right.
coincidences? So how did
Yeah,
that change?
exactly.
Did you start becoming a seeker into things? Did you get into paranormal television then, or just start watching it, or just
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, the interest was absolutely there. I grew up, and really the only thing I knew was I grew up, like I said, in the Midwest, so it was a lot of basketball, baseball, just sports. Playing outside. Never even thought about scary movies. Never thought of any of that. But after that experience, even though it was a beautiful experience, I still was like, okay, let's see what that was. So here comes Travel Channel. Here comes Ghost Adventures. Here comes the Ghost Hunters and stuff, and started watching that. And I've always been into acting. I've always been into the Hollywood life. Just, how it is. Just my soul belongs in that world,
in the
as
blood?
gross as it kind of is right now. And I just, it is, but I just knew it. So I started watching those shows and was, telling myself, I love investigating. I love having these experiences now, but I also love filmmaking and I love that world. So how do you put two and two together? you know, Travel Channel, Ghost Adventures, all that, and learning from those guys as well. Watching, learning the equipment, learning what not to do, how to look at spirits, and again, everybody has their own theories, everybody has their own way of investigating, as we both know. But that was really kind of of course, being a teenager, that was like, okay, that's kind of what I'm most interested in, is the way they go throughout things. And like you said, prisons, old Waverly Hills, like old hospitals, places like that. But I was more interested in like people's houses being haunted, people being haunted. And it just, in saying that, again, I know a lot of your listeners probably know this, but saying that, it's when you're haunted doesn't mean that there's Samara from The Ring crawling around your ceiling at night trying to, attack you. Like, because you're haunted, you and I both have things around. I
Of
get told all
course.
the time, So sorry, I went off track. Sometimes I
No,
do
no,
that when I
you
get
didn't.
excited
We have
talking
no
about this.
track. The witching hour has no
Great.
track. Float, we
I
go.
love that. I love
Yeah,
that. But yeah, so that was really my interest. I got into that, and then I ended up going to film school up in Detroit, Michigan. And so it was film school, and for my thesis film, I did a short paranormal documentary up there at one of the old restaurants. And it's funny because I was 21 when I did it, so 9 years ago. And just from what I know now, being a filmmaker, I just laugh because I thought I knew everything then. Not
of
even
course.
just about the filmmaking part, but even the paranormal investigating part, and having to lead a team and stuff like that during the documentary. But again, it's been etched into my soul. Anything with this, and here we are.
Here we are. Here we are, indeed. So now that you're in LA with all us LA folks, we'll
Yeah.
have to go play together sometime and do an investigation, do something.
Oh man, I would love to.
I
There's so many
will.
places that I want to investigate, especially going with you. And oh man, we'd have a blast. And real quick, since I know we're recording, so I'm friends with Tammy Chavez as well
Love
from Holly Weird
Tammy.
Paranormal.
Yes.
Yeah, she's one of my good friends, and
Yes.
she's
Oh, then
she's
we'll have
spoken
to
very
go.
highly of you.
Yes, and I speak very highly of her, and she's never talked
Good.
about you at all. No, I don't.
Probably not. That's fine.
No, I'm just
She's
no.
lovely.
No, she is
She's
lovely. Well,
lovely.
maybe we can go do something with Tammy. How fun that would be. Yeah,
That would be
uh,
amazing.
that would be great. So, do you work with any teams now or anything, or yet? Do you do it on fun? Are you looking for,
Um, Yeah, no. So I'm not a part of a team right now. We'll call it Nomad. I do have Chris Califf from Ghost Adventures, Ghost Loop. That we're still friends. We just got back from the Oregon Ghost Conference last month,
ooh,
up in Seaside, Oregon. Have you ever been there?
whoa, I don't know Oregon at all. Is it haunted?
Oh man, the Pacific Northwest has a whole different energy. Whole different energy. And Seaside is literally that. It's right on the ocean on the Pacific. And I mean, it's got old taverns. We did an investigation at the old Masonic Lodge,
Mm,
which if you tried to Google, there's nothing on the internet. It had been investigated only one time before we went in. And I do want to get into like the sensitive part of things, and tell you how I really came to the conclusion that, oh, I do have these gifts and I'm really going to work on them. But before that, the old lodge, I mean, there was things on the ceiling, there were secrets everywhere. It wasn't, the 2 nights we did, it wasn't the most active place, but there's a reason for that. These spirits don't want to, tell any of their secrets. They don't want us to hear their voices. That's an old Masonic lodge, and it's such a mystery. But yeah, so Chris Califf is still, my buddy. We're not really a team because he lives so far away and he's got his own life up there. So yeah, pretty much single solo when it comes to all that. So I love investigating with anybody.
have K2 meter will travel. That is good. So yeah, I will have to. We do have so many great haunted places, but we don't have a lot of old places. That's why it seems like in California, the oldest places are the mining towns. So you go to Virginia City, or you go to Nevada City, or you go to Vulture City in Arizona, or you go to Butte, all the way to Montana.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I don't know much about getting into the Pacific Northwest and the seaside things.
Yeah.
So tell me if I mean, I really like the show Ghost Loop. What was the concept of that for anybody who doesn't know? Because they had a certain idea of what a ghost loop is. What's a ghost loop?
Yeah, so a ghost loop is a certain type of haunting that hasn't really been shown on television or anything really. And what a ghost loop is, it's basically a residual haunting and an intelligent haunting mixed. So, for example, if a spirit is showing itself at the end of your bed and it rushes you almost every single night repeatedly, but it knows it's doing it and it's haunting you, that's exactly what a ghost loop is. It's a repetitive haunting, but it's intelligent. And usually for the show, obviously it's a spirit that the haunted or the client did not want there. So our first episode, this woman had this scary entity crawling on her ceiling into her granddaughter's room, and she was seeing this multiple times a week. Her grandkids, who were very little, 2, 4, 6 years old, would see the exact same entity at night. And it got to the point where she was afraid of it, but she was more upset and heartbroken because her grandkids did not want to go to grandma's house. She had this beautiful property in Palatka, Florida, and very warm, just all the Spanish moss around. And they never even wanted to drive near grandma's because it was a scary place. And as we weren't even rolling cameras when we first went in there, Patti, and she was bawling. And our showrunner was like, wait, we have to do this, later. Like this is, and we looked at our showrunner like, this is how serious this stuff can get. Like these people are actually haunted and they're very confused and don't know what to do. They don't know what it is. And that's why a team like us and a show like us would go in and we would help these people, but we'd also help the spirit. So the Ghost Loop Haunting was obviously the show name, but I'm sure the thing that you were talking about earlier was these trigger environments. So a trigger object, which I'm sure a lot of your fans know, a trigger object could be the doll behind you, an object that a spirit's attached to. So a trigger environment was we took an object, but we made it into a complete room. So we would put up wallpaper. So that episode, it was a turn of the century, a 1920s baby nursery, because we found out from a preliminary investigation that this spirit was just looking for their child that was a stillborn baby that died as an infant. It was extremely sad. And I felt that energy right when we got onto the property. I won't lie. But of course I was nervous because it was our first time filming. So I was like focused on that too. You know how it is.
I do.
But yeah. So we would have wallpapers. We brought in an old crib, an old rocking horse. And these were all from, antique stores. These were given to us by people in the town, by the homeowner. And visually, it was awesome because it's on TV. So it was like a set. It was like being on a movie set. And as you were talking about earlier, us being theater people, getting into the shoes of these spirits was a lot easier. Relating to these spirits were a lot easier because we built an environment that they are used to. We built an environment that was either there when they died, was their happy place, et cetera, et cetera. And that in turn caused a lot of evidence. I mean, we had equipment blowing up, popping, and smoking. Never seen that in my life. We were having, we built that episode, we had 2 trigger environments, and we built a stillborn grave. We dug a 4-foot grave for the mom, for the woman looking for her child, and also for the baby, which was really sad to do. I mean, digging a grave that was 4 feet down, but only about 3 feet tall was, especially for Chris Califf on our show, because he was the parent of us and he had little girls at home. And he was the one who got in the grave, and he was the one that the spirit was calling out to, even though he was like the mean tattooed muscle guy. Right. He was the softest in that episode because he was a father. He was the only father out of all of us. And so the trigger environments absolutely just changed everything I look at in the paranormal. It really does. I mean, they really worked, and I would love to continue doing that and helping people out.
I love that. And I believe
Isn't that awesome?
I know these things. Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to see you in one. I would love to see you in a trigger environment.
Yeah, I would love that. I would, again, you go into your environment. So maybe we'll just have to go set one up somewhere and figure it out.
I would love that. Absolutely.
We on my network on Paraflix or something. We could do that.
Yeah.
So how is discovering this world, again, because it's a big eye opener. I honestly think the world's scary. We talk about it's scary and weird. And traditionally, when it gets scary and weird, people go back to their religion, to a belief system, go back to church, go back to temple because they're scared. A lot of people don't want that, or it's not working for them. So they're the new age, the upcrust and witchcraft, like my show, new age, affirmations, vision boards. And there's still a lot of people going, I don't want religion and I don't want a spirituality, but I want to know there's something more out there than I see on TV every night in case we do get blown up by aliens tomorrow. They're becoming paranormal investigators. They want to know, I want to go see that there's more than this. And then they often will backdoor into a belief system, a religion, a spirituality, or create their own path to navigate. Has it affected your belief system, whatever that is, in seeing the realness of this world, or strengthen your faith, or just you live in it in the world as it is?
Okay, I'll be honest. That might be the best question I've ever gotten when it comes to this subject. I'm not even kidding. That is a beautiful question. And yeah, I have an answer. I mean, I grew up, again, Midwest. I keep repeating that, in a Christian family. My parents were separated at a very young age. My dad went to church, still goes to church every Sunday, Methodist. And so I grew up in that, and just being a paranormal investigator and seeing the things I've experienced and hearing with my own ears on equipment and etc. It has changed, but it's changed for the good. I think I do still believe in what I believed in when I was younger, but I'm very, very much more open to other people's beliefs, religions, theories. When I say, if I'm trying to tell a spirit to, if I'm trying to help them see what's next, I don't say, go to heaven, go, stay away from hell. I don't use those terms. I say, see the light, whatever's next, whatever you see right now, go to it. Because I don't want to assume everybody believes in God and the devil. I don't want to assume everybody's Catholic. I want to just be respectful for everybody's beliefs and religions. And that's really it. Again, I guess I haven't changed too much, but it's definitely made me more open-minded to every single human being's beliefs to what's next. I don't, and here's a question for you as well. What do you think about like skeptics? So,
Oh,
you have a very beautiful platform. You're very talented when it comes to all this, and you've had a lot of experiences. When somebody comes up to you and says you should belong in an insane asylum, or
oh yeah, all the
calls you
time. Go
stupid,
to
because we get
hell.
it. As I get older, as I, again, just turned 30, and that my whole 20s was such a good lesson with what we're talking about. My early 20s, if you were a skeptic and didn't believe and pointed at me, saying whatever, oh, I would try to fight back, and I would try to get my digital recorders out and show them EVPs and be like, what is that, but as I get older, you said enough, and I agree with every word you just said. It's people have their own truth, people have their own beliefs, and they will go through life the way they should in the path that they're set on. And
Right.
I'm not here to change that. I'm not here to prove paranormal is real. Like, I'm here to, again, turning into proving that the paranormal is real, into now helping spirits, now to helping people. And that's really been the turn, especially since Ghost Loop. That really opened my eye. And my team that I had, every single one of them was like that. Was they did it to help people, and I really appreciated that. And it really made me just completely do a 180 and say, this is why I'm a paranormal investigator. This is why I do this, and have these conversations with people who are either skeptic or who are being haunted. It's almost, probably same for you. It's almost every day. Like, if
Yes.
I'm on a set working or something, somebody knows I'm the ghost dude or ghost guy. They will tell me their experiences and ask what I think, and I'll say, "What do you think it is first?" And then
Yeah.
they'll say, "I don't know," or they'll say whatever, and I'll say, "Yeah, totally. In my experience, I think it could be this, but with what you're saying, if you believe that, absolutely."
Yeah,
So,
I love them. I love skeptics, and I don't even try to change them. I study religion, I study philosophy, I study science. That's what my school's about. My grandfather was this big philosopher from a not liking religion. I'm a philosopher from a liking seeing the truth in every religion. Like you said, it's kind of the names are changed, but there's a truth there. It's the light. Whatever you want to use words, it's the light. But so I love skeptics because they do, if they choose to see something, they fall the hardest. But it's okay for them because we all have different paths. Who's to say my truth has to be your truth, has to be their truth? Our truth is so we could navigate life or even navigate the afterlife. Some people need a more structured do this. Some people need a less structured do this. Some people are attracted to what more nature, some more science, some more religion. And who am I to say otherwise? Because I think they all are. I think who's to say how to get, I don't know where you live, but I know we're in the same city. There's one way to get from your house to my house. I could walk, I could drive, I could take a bicycle, I could take an Uber, I could take a Lyft. There's lots of ways to get there. Who's to say only one way? No, we can only take a drive. So I love skeptics because, again, when they, and I don't try to change, I'm like, okay, that's fine for you to believe. Maybe that is how you're going to get through life. Maybe you had a bad experience with spirituality or religion or ghosts or anything like that. And that's great. Not my place to change you. If anybody wants to learn stuff, I have a big old school. Well, I'll teach you every dang religion, and I'll show you develop your own belief systems. I mean, your own truth without saying it. That's actually the one thing at my school. I have 20 teachers, all different paths, from werewolves and vampires and witches, oh my, to cryptids and alien, to Reiki and Christians and a priest. And I would just say that all we could ever say, though, is that this is a truth or this is my truth. You cannot say this is the truth. Therefore, we'll never be a cult, because you pick and choose what works for you. But I enjoy skeptics because they sometimes have to work so hard to not believe. My biggest, scariest story, which I don't need to go into now, when somebody literally got on fire during one of my seances. It was a skeptic who got on fire. He became the biggest believer I know. Yes. I mean, we were at Marilyn Manson's house. But
What?
he did burst into flames like angel wings of fire up his back. He was not standing in front of a fireplace. He was not standing in front of a candle, literally. And we had four camera shoot, a documentary about this spooky house here in the Hollywood Hills. But it wasn't even demonic. I think demons get way too much credit. It was just a cranky, theatrical ghost. Big in life, big in death. If you're some big old Hollywood star from the 30s or 40s, you're going to light on fire. You know, that's what I do. And it's great. People will change. They're going, this week, I believe, I've had this windiest path to go through every damn belief system. And now I'm a big old soup pot of everything.
Right. And education, it's beautiful that you do that, because education is so key. I think if I were to do one thing better in my professional paranormal investigating career, it's that. It's just to get more educated with more belief systems, with more religions. And so 100%. And to open, we can get into that.
If you want them, I'll send you like 2 of my mediumship classes. Just listening or watching those for an hour and a half class with the exercises, you would just turn it on like that. I mean, you have it on anyway, but you would get out of your own way a little bit.
I would love that. Absolutely. I'm always open for anything like that. And again, I obviously know you from, the shows and from our friends, and I just, my respect for you, I can't tell you enough. And so, yeah, I'm here to learn, I'm absolutely here to learn. You can never know too much about our realm.
Right. And if you ever want to pop into my classes, it's fun. It's again, all different release with just a truth, my truth, not the truth. But it's a great little Zoom school of like-minded people all over the world. I get to go, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's tomorrow in Australia, of seekers.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like, this one works for me. This doesn't work for me. This works for me. And it makes people think and just take your power back. But anytime you want to come to a class, my guest, it's my school.
Great on that.
Okay. So what do you have anything going up that people need to know about? Anything coming up? Where can people find you, follow you, see you?
Yeah. So actually there is something in the works. And as you know, it is something I cannot say yet, but there could be an announcement sometime soon. And it does involve the television realm. It's about all I can say. But you can find me on Instagram and TikTok as at Matt JN Lytle, my last name, and on Twitter as Matt_Lytle. I will warn you, Twitter is mostly about sports, just because, sometimes there's nothing to tweet about. But my Instagram and TikTok are very much about true crime, the paranormal, the cryptids. I mean, you and I know it's been a half hour, but you and I could talk for hours.
We could talk for hours. We could talk a day, because we could talk cryptids. I've been invited I know a few cryptid people, and I don't know much of that word, but I mean, I know the word, but I have never gone on like a camping trip with Bigfoot, but I know somebody we could do that. I do know somebody who's learned the language, who's learned that Anunnaki ancient Sumerian language and can call them in. And I'm like, okay, I could do that.
I would be in 100. Like, I just told somebody coming back from Oregon, because I guess there's a Bigfoot convention up there.
Most of them are, yeah.
Patti, flying into Oregon, by the way, I made a little video about this. It was a TikTok, actually. it's nothing but pine, like giant pine trees. There's like no roads. It's all mountains and pine trees. And I'm like, there's a reason this is Bigfoot country. Like, and we could talk about what we believe Bigfoot is and stuff, but let's just keep our opinions out because mine's a little different. But let's just say Bigfoot is a materialistic like animal. There's a reason you can't find him. I mean, I look down, I'm talking like for a whole hour just listening to music out the window. And I'm like, it's all trees. There's nothing in sight. And then driving all the way up to Seaside from where I landed, which was Salem, still same thing. Just beautiful trees. And, you got the mist cover and because it's always kind of chilly up there and misty. And it's a different energy. I think you'd love it.
Yeah, no, I definitely would. And again, that's exactly where this person who's one of these big, cryptid people is. So, all right. Well,
No, they're up there in Pacific Northwest. That's
yeah.
cool.
So anyway, well, Matt, thank you. We will have to do this again because there's lots we can talk about. But you guys
Absolutely.
check them out. They could see Matt Lytle everywhere, and then hopefully we'll get that announcement soon. And we'll have to go play.
I hope so.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely. Cool. Thank you for having me on so much. Everyone, you guys are all great and just stay open-minded is the biggest thing I can say and have fun exploring because that's what it's about.
Thank you. I forgot. We have a new thing I want to talk about, but I know you're not witchy, so I'm going to
Okay.
switch it up. All right. One of my things, not my regular witching hour that we are on. I'm in this thing called the Witches Movie Cup, and we do this live thing. It's 5 witchy people talking about witches and witchy movies. We get a little paranormal sometime. So I know you're not a witchy person, but you're a paranormal person. Do you have any special or favorite paranormal movies that you love or hate?
I'm gonna say one that I think will give you chills. It's the Blair Witch Project. Let's talk about real quick. It was the first scary movie. Well, the first horror movie I saw was Halloween. I'm a gigantic Michael Myers. I got a Halloween shirt under this plaid. That's the first one. But the Blair Witch Project was the first scary movie I saw that legitimately. This was it was the Blair Witch Project I saw. I was in 8th grade, and that was the first movie that legitimately terrified me for obvious reasons. The way they marketed it, the way they filmed it, the actors and actresses were amazing, and the ending. So that would be one that really and now going into the woods because I investigate, especially coming back home to the Midwest. I like going to parks and woods
Yeah.
and investigating there, and it's some scary things. There's a cemetery right down the road. I'm actually in Indiana right now, ironically enough, not LA, but there's a park right down the road that I was investigating. There's this old cemetery, 200 years old, and we were on the gravestone where it's supposed to be a spirit looking for her child, a woman in white, if you will. And we heard legitimate chanting coming from the woods, and it went from okay, this is kind of scary. We're getting some evidence to we have to leave because we're going to end up in a cabin facing the wall while the other one is, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, the Blair Witch has scared me, but I have a shirt, Blair Witch Project shirt. I mean, it's one of my favorite scary movies. So, and one more, The Witch. You seen that movie?
Yes, these are both ones that we do on our show. Ken, they are witchy and they are scary. So yes, exactly. Okay, then you're going to have to
Man.
come us on our show one of these days.
Oh
Brilliant.
yeah, I could talk movies all day too.
So keep on doing
Yeah.
what you're doing. Thanks for bringing your magic. Thank you for me to my witching hour. Thanks.